me just think about it. And so she sends me like 3 sentences. The character of the creeper, we know he is probably very old. Didn't give me an exact generations old, right? Meaning probably 1,000 years older. And we know that he eats people. And that's it. So come in the room and go figure that out, right? And so for whatever reason, it made sense to me. You know, I had about a week to think about it. I thought about it. Okay, this character can speak. So his behavior is going to have to tell the story. Every little movement he makes is going to have to tell the story. That's how he communicates it. It was an interesting exploration because a lot of times as actors, you know, we forget and we say lines. But you're always communicating. You know, no matter what you're doing, like you're on the phone or whatever, you know, whatever you might be doing, right? You're always, your behavior, your expressions, how you hold your body, everything tells people, it communicates. Sometimes subliminally. So it's fascinating to think about.
Ken, what's about his mic?
His mic cut out. There I am again.
It's been on.
It cut out just for a little bit.
It did?
I swear. Yeah. Sorry, man.
No touch!
I ain't lying. And so I just, like I said, I had a week to think about it, and I went into the animal world. Just thinking about, this guy's a predator, and he's a super predator. And so I kind of took pieces of all the best predators in the animal world and started like stitching them together. You know, how they move and how they behave. And, you know, like you see, I was telling somebody earlier, like at the end of the first movie, little things you'll notice, like when we're in my lair right before I'm looking through Gary's eyes. If you look at the creeper, he's perched on the stool like a bird, right? So I was like, there's a lot of little stuff in there like this. And it all started to make sense to me. And then the night before the audition, I felt really good. I felt like, man, I'm like 95% of the way there. But I'm not all the way there. This was bugging the shit out of me. Something was missing. I didn't know what it was. And at the time, I looked very much like I do today. Probably with longer blonde hair. I was searching too much and not working enough. But you know, I don't look scary enough. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night before the audition, the morning of the audition, going, I gotta shake my head. And I woke my roommate up. I was like, Doug, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. You gotta shake my head. He's like, what? And I woke him up and said, you gotta shake my head. And he helped me shake my head in my bathroom. And I watched, he cut all my hair off, and then he shaved it off, and I watched all the hair disappear, and I stood up and I looked in the mirror, and I was like, yeah, baby. That was like a missing piece, you know, it was the thing. It kind of made all the tumblers click into place. And I remember going into the audition. Auditions are kind of like, you guys have seen all the movies, right? Those kind of soul-sucking experiences. They can be, right? And I remember walking in the room, they didn't know me from Adam. And a ton of people behind the desk, just like the stereotypical audition. And the last guy had left. And everybody's eating and on their phone and, you know, not paying attention. And I just walked right in, there's a chair sitting in the middle of the floor. And everybody behind this long desk is like, you go sit in the middle of this chair and wait for everybody to look up, you know. I just went and sat in the chair and waited for them to look up, and Victor was there, and he looked up at me. I looked down at my picture, my headshot, and he looked up at me, looked down, looked up at me, he goes, you don't have any hair. I said, well, it's for this character, what kind of hair? And everybody looked up in the room at that point. And I was like, at that point, you know, that the whole energy in the room shifted. And they're like, okay. And I was like, I'm going to walk out of the room and I'm going to come back in the room as the character. And they're like, okay. And they actually filmed, to be curious, they actually filmed my original audition. And they've since put it on YouTube. So if you go home and you want to Google Jonathan Breck audition, you'll see the very first time I came in the room and what I did, and it was fun. Of course, they always tell you another little thing they tell you, they tell you, whoever they are. You can't ever threaten a casting director anymore, make them feel uncomfortable, cross this invisible line between you and them, right? They tell you this. These are the rules, right? I was so in that character, as you'll see, that I came across the table with that casting director and I grabbed his ass and I threw him up against the wall and everybody just shook themselves. And I was so locked into the character. And after I finished, the casting director, I don't think he knew what to do. And Victor said, "Come sit down." And I sat down in my chair, and he said, so we're thinking about shooting this film in August, and we wanted to know, what your availability was. And he's like, again, you got to remember, I was like a starving actor. It's like, I said, well, why is he asking that? What does he mean by that? What is my availability? Nobody ever asked me if I was available. I was like, no, I'm available. He goes, no, we just wondered, would this work in your schedule? And it still just went over my head, But it was a great experience for me because, you spend a lot of your life as an actor wondering what they want. I think we all do in life, right? You think about what's going to make you liked or what's going to make you accepted or whatever. You spend all your time thinking about that shit, right? And the fact is, they don't know what they want until you show it to them. And so the lesson I learned from all that as an actor, but also in life, was you got instinct, and you got instinct. And your only hope is to be yourself. And so, as I was driving that audition, my acting mentor called, and I told him I felt really good about it, and he was like, look, do me a favor. I said, whatever impulse comes to you, I don't care what it is, don't second guess it, not even for a second, because that second that you're thinking about it, you lose it. You become self-conscious and you're gone. And so that was the best advice I ever had, but that was really the instinct to shave my head. And I called my agent the next morning and said, I'm thinking about shaving my head. She was like, what? You can't shave your head? You don't get the part, you won't work for 4 months. I was sitting there making the call with a shaved head. So you just trust your instincts, That's what you have to do. And let the chips fall where they may. If it doesn't work out the way you want it to work out, at least you can hold your head up, right? So it really worked out for the businesses. Yeah.
Absolutely. It was great to see how successful the movies became. And they weren't made for like huge budgets. They were looked more independent and independently released, but they struggled to write for it. And it was great to see that. Especially after the first one came out, because everyone was trying to figure out what is the prequel? This is new. We haven't seen something like this before. I guess the only parallel would be the way that Pennywise the clown goes away every few years and then comes back and he eats people. But it was the creeper was something entirely new. There was nothing else like it before. And that was great to see, especially because the way they described it in some of the special features on the DVD, the first one, when they said that the creeper appears to the audience in layers, because the truck, how he starts off chasing them, and then you see the raggedy clothes version, and then it all comes off and then it's like.
Yeah, Victor Saba, the writer-director, he, first of all, was a fan. And he grew up watching the 50s monsters, the real Universal monster movies. And he was really, when he set out to make this movie, he said, I want to make an original, fresh monster movie. And I want to make it the old school way. I want to do everything in camera. I want to do real prosthetics, even though it's more expensive. I don't want to do a lot of CGI. He wanted to make a real monster movie, and I didn't really even appreciate that at the time, but now I do, because it's really hard to make a real, original monster movie. And the way he did it was, you're right, it was if we tell people who this character is, we build a fence around it, and you know what I can or I can't do. How about instead, we show you a little bit more, we reveal a little bit more about who he is, about where he came from. I mean, who expected the wing to pop up on my jacket, right? And so, you know it's a creeper movie if we're going to continue to surprise you. We're going to continue to pull shit out of our ass, pardon my French, because that's what is interesting, I think. I mean, you never know what's coming next. So, and that movie was, you know, it was at the time, it was one of, back in 2000, when we shot it, Francis Coppola had a film fund together. They used to do this a lot in movies. They would get a film fund, they would get a bunch of financiers, and they would get, you know, 60 million bucks or whatever they would get, and they'd make 10 movies. And the thinking is that 9 of them would flop. If one of them would make money, they were all happy, right? So Jeepers Creepers was number 7 and 10. There was 9 other movies that were made in the film fund, and nobody had any idea it would be anything. We didn't know. We were all, you know, young actors. I mean, they sold everything when we got forward. They sold the truck, they sold all the props. They didn't know, you know, it was going to be a big movie. So it was just a pleasant surprise. I think we just all set out to make a really good movie with no expectation of where it would end up 2 years later.
You know, and though it was, the first 2 came out pretty close together, but then there was a gap of like 14 years between 2 and 3.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy how, like, with each sequel, they did kind of expand a little bit in the mythology, but then you saw, like, there was a little bit, he had, like, in the second one, you saw, like, there was the nose part that opened up.
I won't tell you what we call that, but, you know, use your imagination. Yeah.
And how, you know, at that point they were going to jump like the next 23 years, and then how part 3 kind of took place between 1 and 2 at Interstate Lane.
Yeah.
And then that got off of the 4th movie.
I want to address it real quick. So, the 3rd movie, I mean, we had to wait forever to get that 3rd movie made. And when we finally got to make it, we had no budget for it. We made that movie for like $3 million. And that's, in today's money, that's like a student film. It sounds like a lot of money, but for film production, it's not at all. So we had to get really creative, Victor did, and rewrite the script to go in between the first and second movie and make it a much smaller movie. So just knowing what I know about that, I'm pretty proud of the movie. We actually got to make it. And it was a real labor of love for all of us. I mean, I didn't have stuntmen for a couple of days, but I had to do a lot of my own stunts, and all of us were just putting it all up on the screen. And that 4th movie, I never even got a call. The way I found out about it was a buddy of mine texted me one day and said, "Hey man, congratulations." And I was like, "Congratulations for what?" He goes, "Oh, heard you made another movie." I was like, "Really? No." And that's how I found out about it. I never even heard from him. And I remember being totally bewildered about the whole thing. And then upset that they wouldn't at least call me. We used to consult on it because I would want to help them. I would want to help them make a good movie, but never even anything. And then I figured out that it was a money play, really. I mean, they just wanted to make money. It was non-union. They wanted to cut a lot of corners. And so then I just got mad. And I was just mad because, I mean, look at this room. This room was full of Cooper fans. And in my mind, it deserved a good movie. I mean, we put heart and soul into it for 20 years, the franchise, and for somebody to come along and just disrespect it like that, it pissed me off. It pissed me off more because my fans were going to see the movie, they were paying money, and it was what it was. So that's kind of how I feel about that. I just feel like I feel more angry that they didn't respect the fan base more. That's all. So I apologize on behalf of the idiots that made it. So.
Deleted scenes really aren't considered canon, although in the second one, when there was the flashback scene where Derry shows the lead actress like kind of a history of who the creepers killed, and it goes back to like medieval knights and maybe even further. I thought that one was pretty cool.
Yeah, by the way, rest in peace. Nancy passed away last year, so let's say that. about her. She was great in that movie. But yeah, there were some deleted scenes in that, and there were some parts of that movie that, and this is what kills me about not making more Jeepers Creepers movies. We had so much stuff that we wanted to do. Matter of fact, I'll tell you guys a scene that we never got to shoot. Anybody's recording, don't put this part on the internet. But there was a scene in that movie in Jeepers 2, you guys remember it, where the coach, I've already snatched the coach, right? And he's gone. And the kids are on the bus and they're trying to figure out what to do. You know, they're all fighting on the bus, and you know. And then they start to hear the coach calling to them. Guys, help me! Help me! And I'm like, Coach? I look out the window, help me, guys! Help me! And I'm like, it's Coach! Coach! And you look out the field and they see Coach, and his head is just sticking up above the corn, right? But his body is out there, and he's calling to them, guys, help me! And they're fighting about, we gotta go help Coach. And I forget whoever it was, one of the guys was like, I'm not going out there. And you go out there, I'm not going out there. We gotta go help Coach. And the camera pans around to the back of the coach's head, and I've got my hand in the back of his skull. And I'm got him like a puppet, and I'm moving his mouth, and I'm throwing my voice to sound like the coach. I mean, how cool would that be, right? I mean, we got stuff like that for days that we never got to do. But that was one of the scenes that sticks out to me. Is, you know, some of that deleted scene. We never even got shot. Right, we got deleted before we got there.
Yep. And it's kind of similar too, because there was the one in the first movie where the creeper talks to Derry and said, "She don't smell too good, Darius."
That's good, by the way. Very good. That was pretty good. Francis personally cut that line. Yeah, I remember being bummed out. It was my one line, man. It's like I thought about that line a lot. And then he called me and said, "You're not speaking. You're not." And I was like, first of all, how do you argue with Francis Coppola? Like, you don't. And second of all, he was probably right. Yeah, he was probably right.
Gotcha. I just wanted to, is there anyone who has any questions? I'll start over here and I'll work my way over.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Hello.
We spoke
Hello.
briefly at your table about this already, but I wanted to hear more about the makeup process every day and
Yeah.
getting into the headspace of this character, because it's just such a cool, iconic thing. So I want to know more.
Yeah. So I was not prepared for the process. You know. Most days it's about 5 hours. Some people think it's a mask, right? It's not a mask. And that's kind of what I was referring to. They did it the old school way, right? That was a real prosthetics build. I mean, the look of the creeper started with the illustrator, Brad Parker, who read the script and conjured up in his mind what the first sketches of the creeper should look like. And then that went to sculptors. There's a team of 4 sculptors that now go to work sculpting it, right? And then it goes to makeup and effects. And there's, 8 people on the makeup and effects team. It's crazy, right? And so I got there, and I never forget the first time I sat down in the chair to put it on. They made a mold of my face. And they wanted it to look like skin. So that every movement I made, every twitch in my cheek, everything resonated, right? They didn't want it to look like a mask. So each eye was like 5 razor thin pieces. And they would glue them on, and they would blend them every morning, and they would hand paint them, and they would airbrush them, and it was intense stuff. And for me, as the actor, I would sit there and watch myself every day just kind of disappear, layer by layer. And it really was a meditation for me. I used it as a time to just kind of sink deeper and deeper into the character. And after 5 hours, I would stand up. I'm fucking ready, It's like I got the stuff on, I'm ready to go. It's like, and I'm mad most days after 5 hours. But the big open face group was like 7 hours. And so it's intense. And then you go to work for 12 hours because they want to get as much out of you as they can because it's so time consuming and expensive to do. So it's like a 20-hour day by the time you're done. And somehow, I got used to it. It was such a fun character to play. How could you complain? I couldn't complain. Painful at times, but ultimately fun. So.
Hi there.
Hey there.
So we spoke about this briefly in Colorado, but can you tell I hope you don't mind me trailing off, but can you tell the story about how you scored the role of Borg on Star Trek?
How I scored the role of the Borg?
Yeah.
Did we talk about this?
Yeah, I was the one who actually told you about this convention.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Well, thank you. Yeah, forgive me.
Good to see you again.
So, that was my first job. One of my first jobs was to get the job as a Borg, and I was never really a Star Trek fan. I know, sorry, man. Exactly.
No worries.
And they called me and auditioned for this role, and it was and the role was with 7 of 9, right? And I had no idea who 7 of 9 was. And I got this job, and everybody was like, 7 of 9, you work with 7 of 9. I was like, 7 of 9? Who's 7 of 9? And boy, I found out who 7 of 9 was, Jerry Ryan. But it was a thing where I auditioned and had to do all this dying action and cast characters' arms and all this kind of stuff. It was a crazy little audition. But that was my first job, and my first experience with prosthetics. And those people on the Star Trek show talk about having it down. And they said, okay, Jonathan, you're going to show up on the set at 4 a.m., walk on the set ready to shoot at 8 a.m. I got there at 4 a.m., I walked on the set at 8 a.m., and it was like a Swiss clock. They knew what they were doing. Crazy. That was a lot of fun, though.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good.
That wasn't my question, by the way. So I was wondering, so obviously, because I liked you in Jeepers Creepers, but I had a question. Who would win in a fight between your creeper and the creeper from Minecraft?
I'm not familiar with the creeper from Minecraft. Let me throw it back at you. Who do you think would win? It better be the right answer.
I honestly think the creeper would win because the creeper just doesn't die. Your creeper. The creeper from Minecraft just explodes when you kill him.
Yeah, I don't think you can kill him. We haven't figured out what kills the creeper yet. He just runs out of time.
Mark, the other side.
Yeah, we got it.
Hello.
Hello.
My question is, out of all the creeper movies, which one was your favorite?
Nice question. I would say, as a fan, to watch the first. It comes on all the time, and I find myself stopping, and I can't help it. I'll stop and watch a couple scenes, and then the next thing I know, in an hour, and I kind of forgotten it's easy. I appreciate those movies and what everybody did to make those movies what they are, that I forget I'm in them, and I'm watching them sometimes. Like the first movie, I forget. Then something will trigger the memory, and I'll go, oh. But as a fan, I love the first movie. As an actor, the one that was the funnest to do was the second one, by far. Because really, if you think about it, the second one was my movie. I was in it from the first frame, pretty much, to the very end. In the first movie, I don't even show up until I get through. The second movie, I'm flying, I'm doing all kinds of shit. So it was really the Creepers movie. I had a blast making that movie.
Hey, what's up, man? I don't really
What's
have
up?
a question, but I just wanted to comment that your story that you shaved your head is very similar to Robert Englund when he went to audition for Freddy Krueger. He was sitting in his car and he didn't think he looked scary enough.
Yeah.
So he dipped his fingers in the ashtray and put the ash under his eyes to
Really?
make himself look more, rugged. And we all know that turned out for him. So
I've never heard
definitely
that.
follow your instincts.
I've never heard that story before. You know, usually it's interesting. I've gotten to meet all those guys just because, you know, I have the privilege to work with them at conventions like this over the years. But stories like that, I hear a lot of that, like Courtney Gaines, you guys have seen Children of the Corn, right? Like Courtney Gaines, he brings a butcher knife to his audition. I mean, it's like, the stories are usually when somebody just says, what the hell, and does what they want to do, right? And follows an instinct. And so Courtney whips out this butcher knife and chases the casting director around. You know, two things are going to happen. Either they're going to arrest him, or they're going to give him the role. You know, and it's interesting, but I never heard that story about Robert. So cigarette ash, interesting.
One more.
So we're just about to wrap up here in a minute, but it's definitely been amazing talking with you. I mean,
Thank you, man.
all you, yeah.
Uh-oh, I gotta get out with it.
I guess, do you think maybe we will see you as the creeper again?
Good question. I would love it. I mean, I would do it tomorrow, aside from the fact that it's physical. I mean, it's a physical, very physical role, as you know, right? I'll be 59 in 4 months. So, I really have to get in good shape for those roles. But if they told me, hey, we're doing one next spring, I would jump at the chance to do it. I mean, it probably sounds crazy to say, but I say this in 100% sincerity. I would do it for next to nothing. I would. It's just so much fun. And seeing what it's created and how much joy it's created is a huge reward. I love it. Getting back in the crew pursuit, when I got to get back in it for 3, I really thought I'd never be able to do it again because it's been so long. And when I got back in it felt like parallel jeans. And it was a privilege. And I thought, I get the chance to do it again. You never know. You know, I mean, common sense would say probably not, considering all the politics and all the controversy surrounding it. However, you never know. So if somebody gave me the opportunity, I would jump at it.
Absolutely.
As long as they were going to make a good movie.
Yeah, definitely.
Not that other thing.
Yeah, for sure. That would be great.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thanks, brothers.